Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Senate elections, the makeup of the Senate of 2018. Certainly the PMLN is in majority, so we're looking at a majority of the PMLN in the Senate. But the strategies to get the candidates elected, the horse trading issue, the kind of makeup that we will be looking at in the Senate elections. Let's talk about all of that today. I have with me Kamran Khan Sahab, who's a senior journalist. Thank you for joining us today. And Zahid Kashkori Sahab, who's a senior journalist. Thank you for being with us. Kamran Sahab, like we were earlier talking about, certainly, horse trading is a huge issue as far as the Senate elections is concerned. And it's not really related to this election. It's always been an issue with the Senate. How do you see this with regard to the election of the March 2018?
Thank you, Maru. First of all, let me explain the procedure which will be adopted, in the Senate election. The laid down procedure is that this election is conducted through secret balloting.
Right.
And the procedure is in such a formula is devised to determine the actual calculation of the winning or the other candidates' votes. The problem is that this balloting is done in a secret manner. It is secret balloting. The legislators who devised this formula, this procedure, the purpose behind and the spirit behind this devising this formula was to give equal representation through on the basis of proportional representation in the respective assemblies.
Right.
Let us suppose if PMLN has a sweeping majority in the provincial assembly,
Right.
then they will have a large number of senators from that province.
Right.
And we should keep it in mind that every assembly, every provincial assembly, all the four provincial assemblies, they have equal number of Senate seats.
Right.
If Punjab has 22 seats, then Balochistan has also 22 seats. So
Right.
irrespective of the population and irrespective of the geographical boundaries, each and every provincial assembly has a similar number of seats.
Right.
So in this way, this election becomes very interesting. But the situation is that in these elections, because it's repeating again that it is being done, and in the past the laid down procedure allows
Right.
us to have this election in through secret balloting. So that is the big problem that has led to the use of money and sale and purchase of votes and horse trading in this election, as you have hinted. I think if we are going to give proportional if we are going to give seats to the representative political parties in certain assemblies, then
Right.
and if it is designed and it is being conducted through proportional representation, then we should not have gone through this process of secret balloting. If in Punjab the PMLN under the calculation, you might have each and every person is calculating.
Right.
If we know that PMLN will only 6 seats in the Punjab Assembly or 6 seats of Senate, then they will field only 6 candidates. They won't go for 7 because it will give a dent to their strength while voting.
Right.
So I think it would have been better if this secret balloting would have been devised to have been done in open balloting, rather show of hands or other. Only that was the procedure that could stop the way of horse trading
more transparent.
and more transparent, and to check the use of money in such type of election.
But certainly it suits all political parties to have things this way. There's no doubt about that.
No, apart from the question of suitability, I think they advocate the philosophy of transparency and democracy. It is more democratic to give your opinion through secret balloting rather than showing your hands or exposing yourself your loyalties and your affiliation. But I think that if the purpose is to give a proportional representation, the purpose is already set to give a particular number of seats to a certain political party because they have their due share through proportional representation, in that purpose could have been served.
Right.
If you have given the power to a political party or political party's head to nominate certain MNAs, I mean, if they are fielding their candidates by filing their nomination papers and going through all this process to have the elected their nominees through secret balloting, they would have nominated through, I mean, by sending a list, as you have seen in the reserve seats.
Right.
What happens in the reserve seats of the election of the regiment? That is,
it's exactly it's quite similar to that.
Yeah, yeah, but that list is I mean there is nomination. There is no voting. There is no balloting. There is no secret balloting, even secret or open. That is nomination.
But
a party head gives a list before the election to the election commission.
In this case, if we compare the two processes, if we talk about the nomination process versus what happens in the Senate, even if the parties are not giving a list here, if, like you said yourself, if they're nominating a person, certainly, you know, all the members of that political party are obliged to vote for those people, the MNAs. So therefore, in a sense, it is a nomination.
Exactly.
It is a nomination, but not a list.
And they are nominating equal number of candidates. If the formula determined by the election commission suggests that there will be 5 seats for PMLN, PMLN will field only 5 candidates. So why don't they just nominate it? I mean,
why isn't there a list?
And there was no reason to go into the secret balloting and all these processes. I mean, you know, you have seen the process going on, papers have been filed, from tomorrow scrutiny is being started, and all these things, the process will go on until March 3.
Right. Let me go on to Zahid Saab. I'll come back to you. Zahid Saab, you know, quite apart from the debate about whether it's as rather like, you know, when there's nomination on reserved seats or not, in your opinion, how do you see the issue of horse trading? Do you think that, you know, in this election particularly, you know, now that nominations have been filed, you know, how do you see the whole, the strategies, you know, as far as horse trading is concerned, as far as, you know, being nominated, what pains have the members gone to get themselves nominated?
Maruk, thank you. I think this is very important issue this time. Social media and many journalists are also debating this issue, that horse trading, and particularly in tribal areas and the smaller provinces, there are allegations about that concept, and might be big money contaminating allegedly Senate elections next month. But we don't know about this thing, but Election Commission of Pakistan, of course, it's obligation to keep an eye on such.
But in your opinion, do you think that, I mean, certainly it's a reality. If you look at horse trading in the past, certainly it's a reality. If you look at nominations, you know, a lot of, obviously the stakes are very high and a lot of money is involved, a lot of, you know, when these nominations do take place, when the tickets are awarded.
Actually, it's up to the top leadership of political parties, and political party top leadership knows better that who can represent them in a better way in upper house of the parliament, and of course they also donate millions of rupees for party fund like that. There are also reports that when some big businessmen also have been in such habits, accused to be reportedly that they pay the legislature in the provincial assemblies. And one example, even we witnessed in last Senate election that an independent candidate made his way to the upper house of the parliament from Punjab.
Right.
And everybody was stunned to know that. But here are an added significance to Senate election we can witness here, because you know that in June. After that, July and maybe in August, we are going to just witnessing the general election. And it's very important in a way for two political parties, major political parties, of course, for Pakistan People's Party and Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. It's like do or die situation for the ruling party, because if they get a sweeping majority, which seem to be impossible here, they might get 36 to 37 seats in but of course they would be in majority. It's expected that the Pakistan Muslim League, and it will of course if they perform well in 2018 general elections, can pave the way for top leadership of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz to come up with a desired new legislation which can be fruitful for after Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif even to get into electoral politics, but we don't know that what be happening after March. But significance is most important for Senate election.
Right.
And important thing with other political parties as well, PTI most probably it is speculated that will get 12 to 13 or maybe 14 senators overall in the upper house of the parliament, and the political parties like Awami National Party, MQM and JUIF would see a decrease in their numbers. So three political parties.
Let me go on. I'll come back to you. We have Farhan Raza, who's a senior journalist online with us. Farhan Saab, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How do you see, when we talk about Karachi, we look at, there's certainly a breaking in the main political party. How do you look at the scenario as far as the Senate elections are concerned, particularly as far as Karachi is concerned?
Well, scenario is very grim, because if MQM is one of the leading party and we are main representatives of the urban scene, especially Karachi. So if MQM is not united and they cannot put some candidates and their candidates cannot win, then the question is who will win and who will represent Karachi's vote. And this is a worrisome thing for voters in Karachi right now and every observer as well.
So in your opinion, as far as MQM is concerned, what kind of, what do we expect as far as the result is concerned?
Well, right now, it seems People's Party will win most of the seats from Sindh, including some seats from the Karachi Senate. I mean, MQM, if I divide the urban Sindh politics, People's Party, MQM, and now the new party, PSP, they are the main contender in the Sindh Assembly for the Senate seat, right? The MQM is now in a crisis, and they are not able to put forward a united candidate. So we don't know who will win on the MQM's quota or MQM's representation. In that case, everyone knows now that People's Party will get those seats. And people
and Zardari Saab is, and Bilawal Bhutto also, before the elections, they've made very tall claims. They've said there will be a lot of surprises. How far do you agree with that?
I totally agree. I still believe that as we had seen things in Balochistan, a sudden change, and Noon League government was dismantled and a pro-People's Party government was brought in. The same I feel as an observer, that somewhere, somehow, the claim that Zardari Saab and Bilawal Saab made is going to come true. And they are going to get because they are going to get the benefits of all that thing.
So you think that it may be surprising as far as PMLN and PPP is concerned also?
It is.
The ratio of members.
It will be surprising for PMLN. PPP know the game, they are ready, and they are playing their cards well.
Do you think there can be a contest for the chairman?
There will be a strong, after Karachi's drama, whatever political drama is happening right now, after this, I think People's Party will be the most strong contender for the seat.
You think that it won't be PMLN?
No, I mean, PMLN of course there, but PPP will put a strong fight.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for giving us time, Farhan Saab. Thank you for your time. Coming back, Zaid Saab, let me start off with you. In your opinion, do you agree with the statement that there will be a fight for the chairman? Considering that what the situation is with the PMLN being in majority, do you think there will be surprises there?
You are talking about the Pakistan People's Party.
Right.
Zardari Saab has very good maneuvering skill, by the way, but I don't see. But I see that my political insight is that there slightly maybe compromise between the two PPP and PMLN, that if they come up with Senate chairman and who would be the president from which party, president of Pakistan, there could be discussion like that. But at the moment, I don't see that. I can see as a journalist that Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz would qualify one of the candidates like Raja Zafrul Haq. Right. And maybe another one from PMLN could be chairman Senate. This is my
But you think there will not be a contest between the PPP and PMLN as far as that?
There would be a contest, neck to neck. I'm sure that hard contest I can witness, but
it'll go
finally PMLN would make its way, I'm sure, about the top office in the upper house of the parliament.
Right. Kamran Saab, as far as the criteria is concerned, when we talk about the criteria for selecting members, certainly it is up to the party heads. It is very much a discretionary thing. But in your opinion, do you think that there are benchmarks apart from loyalty, apart from meeting, perhaps the party fund? Do you think that those are the main criteria that are followed when selecting candidates, which is the same if we go back to that same debate for on reserved seats also?
Yeah, there is laid down criteria in the constitution, in the election laws, and the most notoriously popular Article 62 and 63.
Right.
I mean, they are this benchmark is used while determining the eligibility of a certain candidate. And as I have already told you that from tomorrow, scrutiny of nomination papers is going to commence, and during that there will be the touchstone of 62 and 63 article will be used, and their eligibility will be determined. As let me quote the statement of PTI leadership that they have decided to challenge the nomination papers of former Finance Minister Ishaq Dar, and they have said that they will challenge the nomination on the basis that he is an absconder. There is corruption charges against. There are corruption charges against him. He is in the dock in an accountability court, and such a candidate cannot meet the criteria which has been laid down in Article 62 and 63. So they will challenge. So there is a criteria. There is a strict criteria. It is other thing whether you, how strict you adhere to those principles and touchstones and yardsticks.
But the criteria for making it in the Senate, that is a separate criteria. I'm talking about the criteria for being picked for nomination.
Yeah, but it all depends on the party heads, obviously. I mean, apart from loyalty and apart from your affiliation, party funding, obviously that counts. I mean, Maruk, our political culture is very, it is our dilemma, it is our it's hard reality that yes, party funding, finance and financing, monetary benefits and monetary campaigns, these are part of our political culture, unfortunately. And not in Pakistan, even there are so many examples in other countries. No one can run his party without party funds, and that is why this is the time when we see that sale and purchase is done, voters are put on sale, votes are put on sale, and the market becomes very hectic like these days. And as we have seen, as my friend quoted that in the last election, an independent candidate made his way in the Provincial Assembly winning the seat of Senate, and it is very surprising. Obviously, that was it was the money which made the mayor go.
Right, exactly. But Zaid Saab, like Kamran Saab is saying that, the PTI is going to challenge Ishaq Dar Saab's nomination in the Senate, his election in the Senate. As far as, I'm sure that the PMLN will follow, with other candidates. So in that sense, we are looking again at that kind of, a kind of war between the two political parties as far as their candidates are concerned. Again, the 62, 63 particularly coming into effect again. And getting interpreted again, the concept of the good character coming back, the Sadiq and Amin provision being interpreted again.
I think this battle was started actually in 2012 or 13, but it's right now, you know that in the Supreme Court of Pakistan,
right.
Supreme Court also going to determine the disqualification period of any elected parliament which
right.
was otherwise disqualified by the Supreme Court of Pakistan. I can see it, and of course, it's now up to tribunals and up to the returning officers just to keep check on the nomination papers. But political parties are very well aware of, and particularly the applicant know well this time that they are strictly under check, and the political party also already set covering candidate for them. So there would be.
So you think that PMLN may have already anticipated, certainly anticipated this, and then whoever is the covering candidate is somebody that they are all right with, stepping into
everything, and he
scenarios
or she not be convicted by any court. But reportedly there were 2-3 candidates. You know that 146 applicants so far applied for 52 seats for the upper house of the parliament this year. And we exactly don't know that what would be happening, but speculated criterion. So far, I also mentioned in my one of article recently that Pakistan Muslim League overall will be winning with a majority of 36 or 37 overall votes in the upper house, and then
right.
Pakistan People's Party be following it, and then PTI. So to keeping all these things aside, we know that some other political parties are struggling not only to nominate like MQM in Karachi, but other parties in Balochistan as well. But real battle, we were discussing about horse trading, the money, big money, making overall the player ground in the Senate, like in FATA
right.
this time, and 9 legislatures of provinces would not be able to vote this time because they have not filed their annual return, and ECP already suspended their membership.
Right.
So Senate election I see in a broader perspective,
right.
which of course put impact on general election, that and it's like a do or die situation. I will stress upon it for Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz this time. And I'm very happy as a democracy lover in the country
right.
that once we were discussing at this forum in your program that many political parties and particularly PPP accused to be just manipulating in Balochistan, and there were reports and speculation that 2 or 3 provinces chief ministers might dissolving assemblies to just
right.
to overthrow Senate election.
Right.
But this time it's a very good omen for the country, and already we just are waiting, I think 3 weeks ago, and it will of course pave the way for timely general election in August maybe.
Right.
So it's a good thing, but otherwise this is very serious house in my opinion, and now the democracy trends and media is very vibrant. The rumors, allegations of horse trading, investing big money, pumping billions of rupees to buy votes and loyalties,
right.
as Kamran Khan was saying that basically this is not good thing for democracy, and the secret ballot, and there should be anything open to
right.
how to and which to and home to vote. And this should be very transparent. And of course, we are now getting new election laws, which are, in my opinion, it's a very beautiful piece of legislation. After 2.5 year long exercise, painful exercise done by all political parties, and they come up to at least ensure transparent and fair and free election in the country. And it also empowered Election Commission of Pakistan this time in a big way.
But that's how we're talking about
to have control like non or anti-democratic norms to make elections free and fair in the country.
We're talking about the rules of the Election Commission. You're talking about the fact that certainly it's empowered and all of that. But coming to you, Kamran Sahab, certainly the rules have been changed recently. And you know, we do, as far as assets are concerned, particularly, which was seen as problematic by, you know, across the board, all political parties.
Yeah, but basic procedure is very much the existing procedure for voting and election of Senate is very much similar. I mean, yes, the nomination paper has been made simplified, and some deletions and some insertions have been made, and otherwise the main procedure, that is very much same.
But when we talk about this particular provision as far as assets are concerned, you know, this was certainly something which was causing a lot of problems for across the board all political parties, because, you know, giving out your assets and then there was debate upon them, and there was, like I said, you know,
yeah, earlier there were in fact there was
disclosing of assets.
Earlier there were two parallel systems going on. And all the MNAs and MPs and senators, they were supposed to file their annually return of assets, declaration of assets by September 30th September of each year. And but now
and it wasn't only about themselves; it was about their family, their spouses, their dependents also.
They themselves, their spouses, their children, and their dependents.
Right.
Apart from children, if they have in their family as their dependent, they were supposed to declare all the assets in their name. But that is very much there. But I think a slight change has been made, that now I think dependents have been deleted. They have been excluded from the declaration form, and now MNA or MPA or every parliamentarian or legislature is bound to declare assets of his own. Yeah. Another important aspect is that a change made in the new Election Act, and that is the value of the declared asset will be given. Earlier you were supposed to give two values: the original value at the time of acquiring that asset, and the present value, I mean in corroboration with the market value, the current market value. Now they don't, now you need not to mention the current value. Right. You will be required only to give original. I mean, it may be 50 years ago or 40 years ago.
Right.
That is the main difference. That is the main difference, and
that has simplified things.
You can say it is simplified, but there are critics who say that it has been given undue favor to the politicians, and they have given a room to keep the things.
I want to discuss that. Why did we need to change things, Zahid Saab, in your opinion?
Maruk, actually, you know that accountability started from the top now, and it's not only keeping focus on the politician. My opinion, that's so far also media reported today, even one of credible journalists reported that government is just contemplating a very serious piece of legislation by consulting all political parties, that there should be accountability of judges as well. So it would be something new, but not strange, by the way, as everybody is saying, accountability of media, all institutions, and there should be a check even on the politician. By the way, we journalists feel very soft and also targeting politicians easily, because we know that there should be so dangerous for us just to targeting
It's
them
easy, right? It's
and
easy.
exposing them.
They
and
make
just,
easy targets.
make easy target, but some institutions are might consider to be sacred cows, and there should be accountability, but they always been in habit to showing that we just have their own accountability system, internal system. And
Do you think that they will come into this fold if we talk about particularly judiciary? Do you think
political
it's likely?
yes, there could be consensus, by the way, but not at least in this government. We can witness in 2019, maybe in coming years, but I don't see that all political parties will come up on a single platform.
This government
Even
does seem
particularly
to
the
feel more
PTI.
strongly about it than it's, well, even its predecessor, if we talk about the PPP government, even they were on,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
were deliberating on this
issue as
yeah.
well.
And this,
But it never happened. I mean, sorry.
please.
Right.
So the situation is that yes, this to bring the judges and the judiciary, members of the judiciary into the accountability net, it was deliberated by the parliamentarians. It was done when a parliamentary committee was amending and making 18th amendment. I mean, it was a very hectic exercise. You might have remember. At that time, this suggestion came into discussion, but it was never made part of the actual legislation. And the problem is that you know, when 18th amendment was introduced, it was enforced. It was challenged in the Supreme Court of Pakistan on the basis that the system of induction of judges in the judiciary, that was amended, and then Chief Justice of Pakistan Iftikhar Muhammad Chaudhry was not overall satisfied, or rather he was offended
Right.
with that new system. Because a judicial commission was introduced and a parliamentary committee was introduced. The candidates were supposed to be originated from the judicial commission that was headed by the present Chief Justice, and their recommendation was supposed to go to the parliamentary committee, and that was a parliamentary body. But parliamentary committee was not given a power to undo the recommendation of the judicial commission.
Right.
So even that you know, that legislation was challenged on the basis, because the main contention was that Parliament has every right to legislate, Parliament has supremacy, Parliament has sovereignty, it can legislate. But it cannot make laws, it cannot legislate against the independence of judiciary. So if you dub a certain legislation as an attack on judiciary, or as an attack on independence of judiciary,
right.
that automatically goes into the judicial purview of the judiciary, and they start a judicial process by making judicial review of that particular legislation. So that is why, I mean, that is the main reason.
But do you think, considering the fact the scenario at present, I mean, with the judiciary and the current government not exactly seeing eye to eye on different, I mean, we've seen the kind of comments that are flying back and forth.
Exactly. The time and the PMLN leader has already hinted towards making such legislation in his speeches, in his public speeches. He has clearly made that, yes, we will. He has hinted at nipping the
he said,
wings
and
off.
you know, he clearly said that, you know, if he had known that the kind of issues that are as far as justice is concerned, then they would have, you know, gotten down to working on those issues before. But you know, now is perhaps not
yeah. And another reason is that there is only one constitutional provision that deals with the accountability of the judges, and that is Article 209.
Right.
That is, you cannot take action against any judge, you cannot prosecute a judge, you cannot file a complaint against a judge. It is this domain. This is the exclusive domain of the Article 209, Supreme Judicial Council, and ultimately the complaint of judges is heard by judiciary.
Right.
So that is the dilemma, and that is the main hitch in, I mean, making these
Right, I
things
can
right.
decide
That's
someone
what
Finding
is
the
happening.
opportunity, Kamran Khan has decade-long experience to cover Supreme Court of Pakistan. I'm very lucky to learn from him even.
Thank you.
How do you see that the Supreme Judicial Council, apparently the circumstances right now, judiciary might be under pressure from media or many other politicians, and contempt of cases, notices. These are very important, and people
Right.
are carefully crafting and discussing on TV channels. Even we heard that one of our colleagues directly received a call from a sitting
Right, there
judge.
is so much, right, there is
So,
a lot of
there
things
are
are
a
being
lot
said.
of things
Right.
happening, media also reporting it.
Right.
And when the judgment came out, and everybody has right to criticize it, even openly they can debate after
Right.
the judgment came out, and some politician did, and they served notices. So it's a very, very tricky situation
Sensitive,
for
right,
us.
definitely.
Just enlighten us about, because there are many judges facing serious allegation in Supreme Judicial Council. Proceeding also went on, it's going on, and the next week also there is a case of a judge. Please tell us that how this situation, how can we deal
right.
with this?
Then, Kamran Sahab, how do you see this situation? How do you see the fact that there is certainly, you know, this
That's
developing
what I want
animosity?
exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
In
Kamran
fact-
Khan
Let me
enlighten
allow
us.
me to.
In fact, these are the problems which have been originated from the, I must say, so-called judicial activism.
Right.
So, Justice Iftikhar Muhammad Chaudhary, former Chief Justice of Pakistan, he was the
Founder.
I mean,
Otherwise.
he was the founder, or he
Right.
was the I mean, main judicial activist who introduced all these.
New
But
precedents.
the problem is that all his activism, all his activities, and all these, I mean, judicial activism that yielded not a result. I mean,
Right.
things are still.
Right, we need perhaps across the board judicial, you know, judicial reform for things to perhaps
And
change.
Chief Justice of
over-
Pakistan did it last month, as he can also enlighten us. I think there is
Right,
a
unfortunately,
problem.
we're
We are
running out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, Kamran Sahab. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us, Syed Kashkori Sahab. Thank you. As far as the Senate elections are concerned, certainly it seems that we will witness, they will be on time and then be followed by general elections on time. So a lot of rumors to the contrary have been laid to rest. But as far as the strategies, the makeup is concerned, it certainly looks like PMLN will get the largest share. What kind of surprises the PPP has in store for us still remains to be seen. Whether the tall claims will actually yield result or not, let's see what happens. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.